Welcome to Books and Looks, where we do a deep dive with authors to help you discover your next great read. It's that time of year. Yes, seasons change. The days grow shorter, the nights longer. There's a chill in the air, and yes, it's the perfect time for a mystery book. And what better place than the most haunted island in the entire world? We have a high school reunion gone bad, a death. Was it an accident, a suicide, or a murder? There's a host of possible suspects, and time's running out before everybody leaves to go home. We return to the Isle of Wight for a delectable mystery that will keep you guessing until the very last page. I'm Blaine DeSantis. This is Books and Looks, and today we're joined by friend of the podcast, Mary Grand, to chat about her new book, A Halloween Murder. Mary Grand, welcome back to Books and Looks.
Hi, hello. Lovely to be back.
Wow, our favorite mystery writer is back again, and I can't wait to chat about your new book. Whoa, I'm telling you, first of all, how are things on the Isle of Wight?
It's good on the Isle of Wight. We're just hitting autumn. In fact, it's all just starting to look like the cover of the book. I live very close to the castle where the story is set. So I'm looking up at it and I'm seeing all the autumn trees, and there's a build up, isn't there, to Halloween and everything. So it's all very tied in with the book.
It ties in nicely. Very good. Wow. Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. And as you and I were chatting before we came on air here, for those who don't know it, the Isle of Wight is not in the British Channel. No, it is in the
English Channel.
English Channel.
Well, one side just goes on to Solent.
Yeah. Friends, if you don't know what the English Channel is, neither do I. I don't know where it begins, where it ends with the British Channel, but it's there. It's there.
Yeah.
Wow,
It's
wonderful
very
place.
small. It's very small, just off the mainland of Britain. And we look out over to Southampton and Portsmouth, which are better known.
It's small, but I remember last time you telling us it's a pretty big vacation spot. A lot of people come over from
a lot of people
there.
come on holiday. And it's the population is about 150,000, so
Okay.
it's not tiny. The
No.
actual island's about 23 miles by 13 miles.
Okay.
So, but it's
Plenty of.
it's a lot happening here, yeah.
I was going to say,
Busy
and plenty
island.
for mysteries. Plenty of room
Great.
to have a lot of mysteries.
It's great.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
good. You know, before we get started, again, this is amazing. The Isle of Wight is considered the most haunted island in the world.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why is it so haunted?
Surprised when I read that myself, really, but it does have a huge amount of historic buildings on it for a little place. It's got castles, manors, and they'll go back a long time. And ghost hunters come over here a lot and claim they see ghosts and things around the place. You've got the castle, you've got Arrington Manor, you've got an old hospital ruin and all this sort of stuff. And also, and this I don't quite understand this, but apparently there's something called ley lines, which are invisible, which are meant to be some sort of like energy that goes under the island, and it's meant to
Really?
lead to more paranormal.
Wow.
Yeah, well, you know. That's the thing.
And it's all crammed in this little island. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, all crammed
Pretty
on
neat.
here. Yeah.
That's great. So tell us a little bit. We're talking about your book, A Halloween Murder. And wait a minute, friends.
Yeah.
Yes, here it is. A Halloween Murder by, by Mary Grand. Okay. Tell us a little bit about the plot of this book and who some of the main characters are.
Yeah, it's a murder mystery. This time last year when I was speaking about the Christmas murder, and it's the same amateur detective, Susan Flynn. I write in a series, but they can all be read in isolation. They work as a standalone. I do that on purpose. So this one is set as in autumn at Halloween, and you have Susan Flynn, who is my amateur detective, who lives on the island, and her daughter Zoe decides to come over and stay in Carisbrook Castle with some friends. And it's a kind of school reunion. They're all 30 now, but they were all friends when they were 18 back at school in a band together. And they come over, and it's a kind of reunion that they all come to. And the first night they stay is Halloween, and they go on the ghost walk, and then the next day, one of them is found dead. It's a sort of, because the castle, they are the only people in the castle, and it's all locked up at night. And this is true. This is actually what happens. There's one apartment where people can stay. It's just this one family or one group. It's a real locked room mystery because it has to be one of the people who are in this party who is the killer.
Wow. How many people are in the group? How many people are in this?
Yeah, there's like right in the group you've got Zoe, who's Susan's daughter, so that's her link into this group of people. And then there's Maxine, who is a barrister, and Maxine and Zoe both live on the mainland. You've got people who actually live on the island: Nick, a teacher; Annika, a phlebotomist; and Leanne, who runs a restaurant. And the only other one person is called Gino, who's Maxine's husband. And so he's the outsider. He didn't grow up on the island. He doesn't know them all.
And it sort of reminds me of a Christmas murder where we had a Frenchman.
That's right. It's always interesting, I think, when you've got this sort of small group to put an outsider in as well and see how they change the dynamics of
Exactly.
as well.
Wow. Well, it's wonderful. I love it. Now, the main setting for this book is a location called Carisbrook Castle. And again, friends, if I showed you the cover here, there it is again.
Yeah, you can see it. That's what it looks like.
That's what it looks like.
It really, really
that is
is.
Carisbrook.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, foreboding as I look at it. Yeah. And it's a perfect location for a Halloween mystery. What's some of the history of the castle? And what did you discover while you were doing research?
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting one, Carisbrook Castle, because I've been going there for years with my children when they were little and things. But when you're writing a book set somewhere, you learn a lot more about it, different things, really. It's an incredible castle. Some of it is ruined. Some of it has still got rooms that people can go in and out. It started off as a Saxon fort. And that's what I love about castles, actually, is you've got these layers of history and they change. It makes it more difficult in a sense because you have to keep reading and reading, but it makes them really interesting places. And in fact, they have found prehistoric remains up there, which is, it goes way back. Then you've got the Saxon fort. Then it became a Norman castle. Then Elizabeth I took it over and it was changed. Well, not she didn't personally, but it was taken over in her time. It became a prison for Charles I. And the most recent time it was actually used to live in was Queen Victoria's daughter, Beatrice, used it to live in the summer. Eventually now it's owned by the English Heritage and it's a tourist attraction now.
Okay. Wow. And
Were
you aware that there was a place, an apartment you could rent in the castle?
No, I only learned about that about 2 years ago. And that's what inspired me to write the story. Because once I knew people actually stayed there overnight, they have the run of the castle grounds. They can go up on the battlements, which are fantastic battlements all the way around this castle. And you've got all that. And you've got the door is, the huge wooden door at the front is locked. I mean, really, it's made to set a murder mystery, isn't it?
It certainly is. Wow.
Fantastic.
Well, before someone dies, we have this sense of foreboding and dread. Something's going to happen. I love when you tease us with that on page 1 all the time. Something's going to happen, But why did you want to explore a high school reunion? Because everything in that reunion curdles and changes from what it wanted to be.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to get a group of people together. I wanted them to have a joint history, but also not like a family who all knew each other that well. What's interesting about the idea of a reunion is you've got this gap of time. So you've got a group of people who think they know each other very, very well. But of course, things happen and people change. So you bring them back together again. And what is meant to be this happy, nostalgic time often changes because people change and relationships change. So I find the reunion idea quite fascinating, actually. I'm not a great one for reunions myself, actually. I think they can be a bit strange because people want to go back to something that doesn't exist anymore.
That's right. That's right. Matter of fact, I just got a note the other day from somebody saying, "In your old fraternity, is anybody coming back? It's the 50th reunion." I said, "I didn't even know it was homecoming, let alone a 50th reunion. So obviously, I'm not going, and it's 2 miles away from me, so I'm not going that far." So yeah, but there's a lot of people who really love that stuff. But for
Oh,
me, I'm
they're
like you.
people really, really into it,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
just not particularly because I've got my memory of people as they were then, and I think, "Ooh, well,
exactly.
they're all well in their 60s now." Last time I
Yeah,
saw them,
I
they were
know, or
21.
70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long time
So
ago. Lucky I remember
yeah,
getting in,
yeah,
But, yeah, so it's something. I think the whole purpose anymore over here in America is they get your name, put you on a list for donations. That's what they want. Give us some money.
yeah,
Yeah, right, okay.
yeah,
You have my
yeah,
name, you know where I live. Don't
yeah.
bother coming around, so I've given you
Mm.
enough. So, anyway,
Yeah,
well, that's really good. I like the fact that it was a reunion. That's interesting to examine those relationship years later because we do change. Yeah, we do
yeah,
change.
yeah,
And, you have a scene in here. Now, friends, we don't give spoilers. We try to work around the plot a little bit, okay? We don't give spoilers. But you do have a scene here with a Ouija board. I mean, that was a really super intense scene. Super intense scene. Now, some people might not know what a Ouija board is. Tell us what that
yeah.
is.
Yeah, in many ways, they you don't hear about them so much now, because I think people tend to go to, like, mediums and things if they want to reach the other side now. But what it is, the idea was you have this wooden board, and on it, you have, like, numbers 0 to 9, you have all the letters of the alphabet, and then you all sit round in the dark, and you put your fingers on this pointer thing, and then the idea is you ask the spirit world, a spirit, questions, and then this thing moves and answers a yes or no, or it'll spell out a word or whatever, and that is how you get messages from the other side. So that's what a Ouija board is.
It's the idea. They were big when
That's
I
the
was a kid.
idea.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people remember them from their childhood. Yeah,
Yeah, but the thing is, this is now a present time, and
yeah.
yet, despite what we know about Ouija boards, it had a really big effect on this entire group. They all reacted different way.
Mm. I think if you did that in the middle of the park on a Sunday afternoon, you'd all just laugh and nothing would happen. Put
Mhm,
people in a castle at midnight in the dark,
mhm.
and you've got somebody who says, like Leanne leads this, and she actually really believes in this stuff, and so she's waving herbs and she's got candles. You build the atmosphere up enough and people start believing anything, don't they, really? And they sort of get scared, and particularly because of the way the Ouija board takes them, or somebody, and obviously it's very open to be manipulated by somebody. And but the way this takes them is very scary for them.
Yeah, it was, and everybody starts pointing fingers at everybody else or thinking
Oh,
this or that, and the next thing, it was, quite interesting. Now, here's a twist, friends. Here's a great twist that Mary's given us. As she said, they're all in the castle, but not everybody's actually staying in the castle.
yeah.
Why did you decide to put 2 people out of the castle?
Well, partly because I wanted Susan, my amateur detective, to have a way into this group. She obviously wasn't
Okay.
going to be part of this group on holiday because she's not part of that group of friends. So her daughter, and it's actually true that you could only have 4 people in the apartment there. So what I thought, that's quite handy. So Zoe, her daughter, stays with Susan and this girl Leanne. They both stay with Susan. So Susan is running them back and forth, and it brings her and gets her involved in the whole crime then
Yeah,
and the solving
yeah,
of it. So it's a good link between the two.
it is. Yeah. And once again, when the police get there, there's Susan, and it's like the lady, they say, not again, not again. You're always in
Yay!
the middle of things. Well, now we're gonna have a little bit of lighter questions for a few, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Your last book, you introduced us to the lovely, what I call now, holiday of Twixmas, which was
Do you know,
wonderful.
I'm so excited that you took that one off. Did you have a good Twixmas party?
We had a wonderful Twixmas party, and So wonderful. The second annual one's coming up December 28th. Yes, yes, yes. Another one
That's
by
fantastic.
popular demand. Everybody wants Twixmas, So,
Great.
and and we do it, as we say it, Twixmas with an Italian style, because me being Italian, we cook
Yeah.
Italian foods. And so
Yummy.
my cousin showed up on my dad's side, and she said, I was coming in the house, and she said, I said to her husband, "What's that smell?" She goes, "Oh my God, that's not in Grandpa's," because we were frying fish
Yeah.
and frying fruits. It smelled just like it used to when we were kids.
Yeah.
And so, hey, that's
Oh,
the whole
how
part of the whole
wonderful.
thing. It was
Wonderful.
great fun. You
Yeah.
friends, you
Yeah.
find that in the book, A Christmas Murder. Wonderful book.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this book
Yeah.
has given us the famous Isle of Wight tomatoes. Now, I didn't know they were famous, but they are. I've done
I
my
think
research. Tell us about the Isle of Wight tomatoes.
yeah, I think I might have slightly exaggerated we get very excited over here when things get onto the mainland. And I was up in London one day and I saw on a menu Isle of Wight tomatoes and I thought, blimey, we must be getting famous for our tomatoes. And then I found out they're considered quite posh. They make all these different sorts. If you look at the website, they're all different colours and shapes and sizes, and they're quite
Yeah.
artisan. And you get them in farmers' markets over on the mainland now. And they are actually very, very. I mean, I buy them in my local shop, and I hadn't realised I was having something quite so posh and unique. I mean, they taste lovely. They are very nice tomatoes.
I'm
So,
trying to find some
yes,
here in the US. First,
I'm
it's
not sure.
not
I'm not
tomato
sure.
seasons. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
not sure whether it would be economic
yeah.
to be flying them out to America myself.
So what we need to do is figure out a way to get seeds from
Yeah.
the Isle of Wight over here to America that go through customs that they won't think it's something we shouldn't have, contraband or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so we find out about the Isle of Wight
Kind of white
tomatoes, which was a
tomatoes.
lot of
Yeah,
fun.
you do. Yeah.
And then we've got dogs. Now, there are a nice amount of dogs in this
Ah, the
book.
dogs. There
And
are a lot, yes.
what you did was so nice. You named your dogs in the book, your fictional
Yeah.
dogs, after your friends' dogs' names.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to do that?
Well, what happened? Years ago, I had a Cocker Spaniel, and I joined site online for other people with Cocker Spaniels to try and learn what to do with my Cocker Spaniel, who was quite naughty. And through that, I'd made some really lovely friends. And it was the time I wrote my first book, self-published my first book. And these people in this group were amazing. They all bought the book. They all told their friends about it. I couldn't have wished for a more supportive group of people. And these are people I'd never met, only online. And so when I then wrote the next one, to say thank you to one or two people, I said, "Would you like your dog to be in the story?" And I'll use their name and their colour and their breed. And it really to say thank you. And that every dog that is in there is a friend's or a friend online's dog to say thank you for supporting me, really. And I love it because I end up with bigger files about the dogs than I do about the people because people say, oh, they love their dogs being in the book. And then they send me photos, they tell me their likes, their dislikes, and I know a lot about their dogs. And this summer, for the first time, probably must be ago 10 years now since I started using some of these dogs, I met two of the owners because I went up north in Britain and I met up face to face for the first time. So that was very, very exciting.
That is
And
neat.
it was
Yeah.
honestly, it was really like meeting real close old friends. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
So the
Okay, just
dogs and the people,
yeah.
great.
So for future books, his name is Babbitt, Babbitt. He's a Cavalier King Charles, and he is my 11-year-old dog who is
Really? I
deaf.
love that breed.
I will send you a photo of Babbitt
Send
because
me the name and the
I will
book, and
send you. Yeah.
I will. I'll get him in there.
Okay.
I'll
Well,
get him in there. My cat
he's
has just
deaf.
joined the. That's fine.
He can't
Well,
hear a
my cat has
doggone thing,
just joined
but he snores
the role.
awfully well. I can tell you that much. So
Oh, you sound lovely. It's a lovely breed of dog. They're
they
so
are.
gentle. They're
Yeah,
gorgeous.
he is.
Yeah,
He's our guy.
yeah.
Anyway, now I got to go back to a little bit about the book.
All
We
right.
could talk as
Yeah.
friends forever, but yeah, a little it was fascinating, is you bring in drug smuggling into prisons,
Oh, yeah,
specifically a
yeah,
drug that I never heard of called spice. Now, I don't know what
yeah.
spice is, but first of all, tell us that, and then what sort of research did you have to do to figure out how they got contraband into prisons and make it realistic?
Yeah, I did loads of research on this. But what any writer will tell you, for a book with each thing, you do masses of research and you probably use 10% of that. But to actually understand it and get a feel for it, you have to do masses. So I watched films. I read a lot online, and this spice, it's horrible. It's deadly stuff. It's what do they call it? It's a synthetic drug, so it's man-made, and it's meant to. They say that it sort of mimics the effect of cannabis, but it's much, much dangerous, more dangerous than that, and much more unpredictable. And people become addicted very easily, and they can go very violent. They can get psychotic, and you imagine that sort of drug going into a prison situation, and that the problem is, you see, it can be in a liquid form, and it's put onto paper. So that what they'll do, they'll send letters and things soaked in this into prisons. It's very easy to smuggle in, and it's not very easy to detect. So it's been absolutely rampant, and a large number of people have been damaged in prisons from it. So it's a huge problem, massive problem.
They put it on paper. What are you supposed to do? Eat the paper, or what do you do?
Yeah, they either smoke it or they eat it, chew it, or they make,
Really?
yeah, and you see it.
Have never heard of that, but there's
Well, the more I read about it, the more shocking it became. Really, it was people like they were taking like they'd say they were children's drawings or something like that at visiting time, and they were soaked in spice. And I think they started making it so that mail and things that goes into the prisons now has to so much isn't allowed in now because people were getting them sent in letters. So yeah.
there's another thing I never knew about. I find out so much in your books. Ay, ay, ay. Now, you have got one character. Her name is Maxine. She's the
Mm.
one who put this all together. It's interesting. Just she. No one else was involved in this. Maxine says, let's have a reunion. I'm going to put it all together. Did you think that was perfect? And do you think that's the perfect person to orchestrate such a complex thing? To only have one person involved in the organization?
I always, you see, what they talk about, Max, when this group are together. Now, at one point, one of them says, "Look, Maxine, you're not right at the beginning." This because she's trying to get them all to do something, and they said, "Look, we're not 18 now. You're not in charge." You know how you always have one person, one sort of person in a group who organises. Everybody might sit around and say, "Oh, quite nice to do so and so," and then one person says, "Right, I'll do it. I'll get that organised." Maxine was that person in the group. She was the natural person, and because this isn't just a reunion, but it's partly to do with the retirement of a music teacher who they were all very fond of. So she hears this is happening and that the celebration of this teacher is going to actually be held in the castle on the Friday. And then one thing leads to another. She thinks, oh, yeah, we could stay there. Well, maybe we could all go together. And so, but it always takes one person, doesn't it?
Yeah.
it
Hmm.
Groups don't
Yeah.
sort of organize things, one
Yeah.
individual would, and she is that person. She's a very competent, very organized sort of person,
Yeah.
very busy person, but it's always busy people who organize things, isn't it? So
She wants a
she's,
perfect memory. She wants that
yeah, she
perfect
does.
memory, and the exact
Mm,
opposite happens, doesn't it? Wow.
yeah, it certainly
That's
does.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
now, we talked about they have ghost walks, or you have a ghost walk in this book.
Yes,
Do they really have ghost walks there? And have
they
you been
do.
ever
I
on?
went on it this
You
time
did?
last year on Halloween. I went for as research for the book, and they actually had a ghost walk in the castle. And as the one in the book is described, that is exactly the one that if you went up this year, you will have.
Yeah.
This group of these two men enacting in an Edwardian costume take you around the castle. And it's brilliant. It's absolute. It's not. It is sort of unnerving, but it's not spooky stories. A lot of it's just about the history of the castle being told at
Mhm.
night. It's
Mhm.
really
Mhm.
very, very good.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it.
Wow. What
But they
happens if
do
it
tell you
rains?
where ghosts. Whatever. Yeah, I don't know. We were lucky; it didn't rain.
Yeah.
But they do tell you all the ghosts that are meant. There's quite a lot of ghosts who are sort of
Mm,
resident up there, so they tell you those, and you look out for them.
that's
So
really
it's good.
good. Wow.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a perfect setting. It's a perfect
Yeah.
setting for this
It's
book,
brilliant.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you had the ghost tour, ghost walk, and whatever happens there or everything else, and, it's funny because, you write it in such a way. Was it an accident? Was it a suicide? Was it a murder? What is it? What was it? And you write it very well. You keep us going back and forth as to what actually happens to the very end. You did a wonderful job as always,
Thank you.
with the way you
Thank you.
plot these things. Now, I gotta tell you something. There are a lot of characters in this book I do not like.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did you anybody you not like, or did you like all your characters?
Like's a bit of a pejorative, really. I find them all intriguing. I get to know them very, very well. And I was thinking about this when I saw the question, and I wouldn't say I dislike them. I would say some you warm to some more than others. And the one person I don't like, I can't lose because they are the killer. And
Okay.
because there's something different about a killer. And
Okay.
I think I had to get to know a very dark side of somebody to find that. So
Yeah.
that is the person I actually at the end I thought, "Ooh,
Well, now,
yuck."
does that when you're writing this, are there characters that are difficult to write, or do you find they all pretty much flow once you get started?
Um, no, I had to work at it, but then I'm that sort of person really. Some people, um, everything just all flows. I have to keep going back and forth. I redraft my novel quite a few times because well, each time you write, you get to know the characters better. Which is why I don't necessarily know the killer to begin with, or I might have an idea of a killer, but the more I get to know them, I said about this darkness in somebody, you start thinking, oh, no, I don't think it would be in that. But yeah, it could be in them. And because there is something different about somebody who kills. And although this is cozy mystery, I still think you have to have a really, really good motive for murder. You can't just skate over that. It is a huge thing to take somebody else's life. So I think you have to have not only an good external, but you have to have something in here as well. I call it the X factor. You have to have something extra that makes you think to resolve this problem, I have to kill somebody. Most people find other ways to resolve issues, don't they? Fortunately, which is lucky for us all. But every now and then you get somebody who thinks, actually,
Off the
I'm
deep end there.
I'm at the end of the day, I'm worth more than my life is worth more than that person's.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Interesting. I spoke to a lady a month or so ago. She wrote her book in 1995, and it never got published till this year. She's gone back and had to completely rewrite it from different points of view 20 years later, and then again 25 years later. Oh
Oh
my
my
god, and I
goodness,
can
it's a
it's
lot of
one
work.
thing when it's that space, but I can't imagine you in a condensed period of time having to write, rewrite, get it all there, and that must be a very difficult thing for an author to do.
Yeah, I quite like rewriting and redrafting. Maybe not to that extent. I've never had. Fortunately, usually my editor likes the basic idea and the basic plan and things like that. But if they I find that's for me, the very hardest thing is writing the first draft and getting it all down and in sequence because my stories are quite sort of complicated in some ways. And just getting that I've got it sort of plotted, but it changes because the characters move things around. And so getting that first draft, I love it then when I pick that up because in some ways some of the hard graft has been done. It makes sense. I hope. And then you can work on really getting into the character, the description, and the sort of what my editor calls the magic side of it, really. So I actually quite like rewriting and redrafting. Yeah, I find it fun.
Friends, when you pick this up and read this, you will think, "Am I reading Agatha Christie? Am I reading Agatha Christie?" Because this is exactly like an Agatha Christie. Well plotted, defined characters, keeping you going to the very end, what's happening. And in the end, it all makes perfect logical sense. You just missed it. Like I do all the time. I always have the
Hooray!
wrong killer.
Good. Actually, what I find interesting is if people can guess why it was done. I heard somebody said these should be called whodunits rather than whodunits because, um, you've got a number of plausible people who could have done it, but guessing why. And that is part of the excitement of writing this, is because I want somebody to have had all the clues for this why, but not, hopefully,
Yeah.
not pick them
Well,
all
I'll tell
up.
you what. Now, did you start out knowing who you wanted to have as the killer, or did that evolve as you went on?
Yeah, that changed slightly. That changed because I discovered new motives. And I also liked that darkness, I said. As I got to know the characters, even though one or two of them had pretty good motives by the end, I that as I felt I got to know them, I thought, no, I don't actually think you'd have gone that far, but you wouldn't.
Yeah, I found a
Yeah,
lot of killers. I found a lot.
yes,
Didn't find the one who
yeah,
did it, but I found a lot.
yeah.
That makes you happy. Yep. Now, your protagonist in this whole series is a lady by the name of Susan, who's not claimed to be an amateur detective or anything, just sort of stumbles into it and can do well. But she wasn't quite as big a part of this one, I didn't think. It just didn't seem because we're more talking about her daughter, Zoe, and then she's having problems with her, I don't want to call him boyfriend, but her friend who's a boy. And she's not 20. She's like, is she in her 60s,
30,
this
yeah.
lady?
Oh,
Okay.
Susan is in her 60s and she's got a
Yeah, okay.
partner with Robert and all that. Yeah.
So was that difficult changing that, with Susan not being quite as the focus as in others?
Well, no, it was actually done on purpose because it was her daughter coming into it. I wanted to have her daughter's point of view at times, and her daughter is actually in the castle, more than Susan is. So I just thought it was an interesting idea to have, maybe because up until this book, it's always been totally Susan's point of view that we have seen the story through. And I just thought it would be interesting because her and Zoe are very close. But of course, Zoe is 35 years younger than her. And it's quite interesting to see things a bit from her perspective as well. I mean, ultimately, Susan is going to be the person who solves the murder mystery. But Zoe is a very integral part of that. Well, I mean, she's a suspect to begin with. So.
Yes, she is, yes, and that's interesting because, she's very in your face as a suspect. She's not about to she's pushing ahead, "Not me, it's this person, this person." So she's something. But, Susan has boy problems, man problems.
Oh, yeah.
You put that and that's a cute little thing to put in that he's not a boyfriend, but he's a friend, is going to France, I think, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
that's right, Robert.
You
Well,
threw that in, yeah.
it's like I think, funnily enough, I'm preparing at the moment a talk I'm going to be doing on character development and how it's character that brings your reader into your story. And so over the series, Susan has sort of developed, and people ask me lots of questions about Susan. And I've realized, as much as the plot and who did it, a lot of people are interested in her as a person, and that's very natural. So things have developed. And because right at the very, very first one, Seaside Murder, when we first meet Susan, she's 2 years on from her husband having split up after 40 years of marriage. She's very vulnerable and gradually, and she's met this chap Robert now. So you can follow that through the series if you like. But I pick it up so that if somebody walks in on book 4, they know what's going on. But it's quite an interesting. Lots of people will come up to me and say, "She's going to get back. She's not going to get back with her ex, is she?" Because he keeps popping up, and it's like another little sideline. And you'll find it always happens with detectives, isn't it? They always have a personal life, which it makes them a sort of wholer, more relatable
It
person, I
does.
suppose.
No
Yeah.
doubt. No doubt. Well, now she gets a new neighbor. And when I first had
Ah.
someone's come in, I thought it was her ex-husband. It wasn't. Tell us a little bit about this
Ah.
new neighbor. Huh?
Yeah. Her ex-husband did actually threaten to buy that house, but he didn't. Well, you only really get a teaser of him in
Yeah.
A Halloween Murder because you're really going to learn about him. He's Harry and his daughter Becca, and they have a cocker spaniel. Um, you're only really going to get to know them in the next book. They really come into their own in the next book. So it's really the thing is with series is to tempt people for the next book, isn't it? And so you keep something back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Obviously, nothing major to do with the plot, but a
Right.
little
But there's
teaser of
it
who is
does.
this neighbour?
Sure.
Because actually,
Yeah.
Harry is very secretive, and he's got quite a big revelation to make
Yeah.
in the next book.
Okay.
And yeah,
I'd say I even think you use it in your book, but so many authors use things like if these walls could talk. Oh, the stories these walls could.
mhm,
Walls can't talk, but everybody likes to use that
yeah.
reference. Oh, if they could only talk, they'd tell they tell you a great story. Yeah.
Goodbye. But of course they can't, can they? But I think
No.
I do sort of hint at something like that in the castle
Hmm.
because this castle has seen, there has so much has happened in this castle, and the walls are cold and impenetrable. They don't speak.
Did
Um,
uh, did Charles ever get out, or did he die in the
no, he
castle?
didn't die there. He tried to escape, but his daughter died there, and
Oh,
it often doesn't get talked about. I find the story of his daughter absolutely fascinating. She
huh,
died there.
wow.
Um, there's another ghost for you. So,
There's gonna say another one. Yeah.
another
Wow.
ghost.
Well, now your last book was a Christmas murder. Now we've got a Halloween murder. And I want to know, are we going to be looking for more holiday themed books? Like I'm going to have an Easter murder, a Guy Fawkes Day murder. What are we doing here?
Well, the next one at the moment, the working title is a heat wave murder. So we're maybe doing seasonal as well as actual
Hmm.
sort of days of
Okay.
celebration. So it's very much about happening a heat wave on the Isle of
Okay.
Wight. So we've gone from being chilly to hot,
Mm, okay.
but it's
Well,
been
I
great
didn't,
fun to write.
but I tell you, I like the fact that we have holidays in there. I really like the
Yeah,
title.
yeah. I think
That's
people
great.
relate to things like that.
Yeah. Now, how many more do you think you got in you for this one? You think you got another 4, 5, 6 books with Susan?
Well, I was probably not meant to say, but there is going to be a change of direction after the Heatwave murder, and I'm not saying it's the end of Susan, but I'm going to have something new, and but we might come back to Susan. We'll see. But I'm
Well, I
working
better
on
get you
something
that
new
picture
as
of my dog
well.
real quick if you're going to be moving on from Susan. I got
Yeah,
to.
well, I got space for new dogs in the next one.
Oh, wonderful.
So
You
yeah,
know,
that will be happening.
again, every 10 months you put out a book. That's got to be, you got to plot in advance. You have a lot you have to do in advance to get this out. What's your working schedule like a little bit? Do you work in the morning, noons, nights? Are there days you don't work on weekends? What do you do?
Oh gosh, I really should be much more organised. Yeah, I tend to be a person that works well to a deadline. I'm not very good when their deadline seems a bit far away. So I work most days, but the closer I get, I'll end up working 7 days a week because I have to just crack on really. What I tend to find is, like I said, I find that first draft difficult. I do
Hmm.
quite a lot of plotting and thinking, and getting the first words down is scary, I find. And once I'm
Hmm.
going, I'm fine and I'm up. But
Okay.
it's as Stephen King said, there's nothing as scary as a blank page, and
That's
it is scary. And yet you avoid it by thinking, "Oh, I'll just do a bit more research," and you can't go
There
on
you go. Well,
researching
friends,
forever.
it's scary. It's Halloween. It's a mystery.
Yeah,
It's our favorite girl, Mary Grand. I'll
thank
tell you
you.
why. She is a wonderful author who writes
Oh,
wonderful
thank you.
books. I want to show you that everybody again. I got to show you this cover again, once again.
Oh,
A
thank you.
Halloween murder. Love it, love it, love it. Anyway, Mary Grand, thank you so much for showing up again today and chatting with us here on Books and Looks.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been lovely.
Thanks again, Mary. As I said during this interview, friends, I think she's as good as Agatha Christie. I love her plots. I love her characters, the setting. It's perfect. The Isle of Wight is such a great location for mystery, and so you're not going to miss any one of her books. And, I want to say to all of you, thank you for letting us be a part of your reading journey, to come to you every couple of weeks with author interviews about some of the best new books that I can find. So anyway, on behalf of our partner at booktrib.com, this is Blaine DeSantis for Books and Looks saying we'll see you in 2 weeks with another great read.